What is reading? The formal definition is being able to interpret the meaning of written words. This ability is very important since this is the way most of the information is conveyed in our society. Reading is a vital skill for a lifelong learner such as myself. How did I develop my love for reading? Ever since I can remember, I had a big bookshelf in my room full of books. I think this contributed to my love of reading. One of my earliest childhood memories is my mom reading to me. I remember thinking that they could have drawn even better, bigger pictures if there were no words in the way. But I loved the stories nonetheless, and when I could eventually read on my own, the words were no longer a nuisance, but an escape from reality. Learning to read in grade 1 was extremely exciting for me. I can still vividly recall the teacher calling me up to her desk to do my reading for her. I remember her telling me that I was a good reader. Walking back to my desk, I had an enormous smile on my face. Looking back, my mother and my first grade teacher provided the sort of positive reinforcement that served to encourage me to continue on with reading. There are an infinite amount of benefits to reading, but the ones listed below are the ones most prevalent in my context. I believe this love for reading has contributed to me achieving well in university. My extensive vocabulary has come in handy more than once while writing academic essays. I can analyze texts given to me quickly and comprehensively. This skill has helped me in making the most effective study materials for my tests. My increased reading speed has also reduced the amount of time spent on a particular task.
My name is Nabeela, a name that means beautiful, intelligent, and noble. Today I'm going to speak to you about literacies. Many of us only associate the term literacy to be able to read and write only. But what if I tell you that literacies are not only about reading and writing, but can also be defined as the ability to do different tasks and duties that does not necessarily involve reading and writing? A few examples of other literacies include being able to build a house, to cook and bake, and being able to mow the lawn for that matter. I hope I've succeeded in making you understand that literacies can be defined further than just reading and writing. Thank you.
My name is Madeeha Akbar Hazarvi, and this is my presentation of my multimodal literacy assignment for JLZ. Academic literacy in my early years. Beginning school at the tender age of 4 was difficult. Always being the youngest in age and the smallest in size hardly worked in my favor. Being the daughter of foreign parents made it tougher to communicate and make friends, but luckily I had my elder siblings to help me learn the language. I still clearly remember the very first year of preschool. The teacher came to the car to collect me from my mum, reassuring her that I would be just fine. But I needed no persuading, as I excitedly jumped out and ran into the new world, ready to explore new colors, shapes, and people. This is a picture of my preschool class, and I'm circled in red. In between playing with clay, slipping beads on counters, and learning to write my name, I made friends with the kindest little people that I would ever meet, and only later on in life bump into. But in that moment, I obliviously chatted away about my stick figures, completely unaware of the fact that drawing would one day be one of my deepest passions. By the time I was in grade 8 R, my bossy characteristics began to surface. Between playing pretend teacher at home with my neighbors and marking pretend worksheets in red crayons with my school friends, my parents quickly realized that I was very likely to follow in their footsteps and be academic literacy from primary school to university. During my primary school years, I realized that English was my weakest subject, and so my mum would personally prepare me for all my English tests and teach me 5 new words every night. Not being good at English began to negatively affect my self-esteem, leading to a decrease in participation in class discussions and an increase in nervous breakdowns before and during class presentations. In grade 5, I innocently sat at the back of my social science class, attempting to lead the textbook exercise when I came across a coverless and spineless book. Curiosity led me to open the book and to begin reading the story, and so every day for the next few weeks I would find this book and read it during the social science period. It was only later on that I found out that the very first book I ever completed was named A Secret Garden. It was after that book that I began to make use of my school library and regularly borrowed books, and reading quickly became a healthy hobby. By grade 10, I was reading classical novels on my own. This made English my highest mark on my report card. That year, I also became very interested in poetry and wrote a lot of amateur poems. As time progressed, my fear of class presentations faded, and I became one of the best at them. My love for writing speeches, analyzing and reciting poetry, as well as reading, led me to where I am today, studying to teach English to FET-faced students. Here are one of the poems I wrote in grade 10 called Abortion. An unborn child, yet getting styled. Breath stopped before breathing, heart stopped before beating, not known yet not loved, innocent and untouched. Killed in the name of right, its future might have burned bright. But now you'll never know. You'll never know what it would be like for that innocent soul to prosper and grow. Art literacy from high school to university. First year of high school was a little tough to adjust to, and so while all my classmates ventured forward in making new friends, I spent my breaks reading at the library and my free period teaching myself how to draw anime characters. By the summer holidays of my grade 8 year, I was so obsessed with anime characters, which led me to my obsession with Japanese culture. Along with watching anime and drawing the characters, I learned Japan's delicate mannerisms, long history, and profound culture. As time progressed, I began to venture forth into different art forms, from drawing to painting and eventually to photography. My brother is a professional photographer, and so he taught me most of the terminology. He also taught me on how to use a DSLR camera as well as methods to enhance my photography skills. During the summer holidays of my grade 11 year, I began editing some of the photos from the events he would have photographed. My journey in becoming illiterate in this field still continues. These are some of the pictures I have taken before. As a teacher, I intend to teach my students something new every day and hope to learn new and wonderful things from them daily. I want to expand my knowledge in all sorts of fields about all sorts of cultures and religions. I want to understand and appreciate the variety of literacy, knowledge, skills that make every individual unique from every other. I have grown from knowledge from my very first breath, and I intend to until my very last. Because as a great person once said, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave.
Hello, my name is Marli Hermien. I was born on the 2nd of June 1989. This is a short biography of who I am and how I decided to become a teacher. Firstly, I will start with my education. My primary school was Lashkofler Primary. This was where I was chosen as a prefect in grade 7 and the chairperson of services. I was very active in primary school by doing choir, netball, ballet, and review. When it came to high school, where I went to Hoërskool Centurion, I decided to pursue a career in education. My grade 11 and 12 English teacher inspired me to become an English teacher myself. This was also where I discovered that my talents were in arts, and I participated in review, drama, and choir. My first year of university at University of Pretoria was in 2017, where I did BA Own Choice, where I did psychology, anthropology, English, and education. After the first semester, I decided to do education because I felt that my potential was to mold the minds of young people. The second thing I will be discussing is my religion. I grew up in a religious Christian house where I attended Sunday school up until the age of 16. In the year I turned 17, I started classes with the Reverend of our church to do my confirmation into the community of the church. This rite of passage was one of the most important times of my life because this is where I learned more about the meaning of life and more about myself, and also the responsibilities you have as a Christian. The last thing I will be discussing are my role models and my influences. One of the biggest role models in my life would be my grandmother. She always made a difference no matter how small. She was a wonderful English teacher and always tried to teach you something new. This made me want to pursue a career as a teacher. My other influence would be my English teacher from high school. She is always so full of passion when she does anything in the classroom. She inspired me to try and do the same with my future students.
In this narrative, I explain my journey of becoming literate in dance, modeling, and karate. I use photos and a short video to illustrate my narrative. I started dancing when I was 3 years old and continued until I was 10 years of age. I enjoyed it very much and met a lot of friends. I competed in various competitions where I received excellent marks. I only did modeling for about a year. My friend wanted someone to go with her, and I decided that it could be fun. We learned the basics and how to make up our own routine. We had to use everything we had learned when we performed in a modeling show. Unfortunately, our instructor immigrated to England. I showed an interest in karate after my brother had started with it. Through the course of 10 years, I learned kumite, or fighting techniques, and katas. A kata is a carefully choreographed pattern of movements, performed solo or in pairs. The colored belt in karate tells the story of your progress in karate. I started with a white belt and earned my junior black belt. In 2014, I competed in Poland. What an experience! I competed in the World Shooter Cup in South Africa, where I received a gold medal. All these things I have learned have contributed to who I am in some way or another, and I still use them to this very day. I